We gathered once more. It had been 10 days since we last altered the layout of the labyrinth. Our meeting today was to discuss whether there were any new issues. Unlike last time, the meeting went smoothly, and everyone was content. I couldn't help but smile at the situation. Oi, you are called Masayuki, right? I knew from the start that you've got some balls, but it turned out that you are an incredibly courageous man. As soon as the meeting started, Veldora, who was in a great mood, began to praise Masayuki. Hey, is that so? Thank you for the compliment. Masayuki was very confused after being praised out of the blue. Who is this guy? That seemed to be what he was trying to convey through his face as he turned to me. He was present last time during Veldora's introduction. But Masayuki was too nervous back then, so it wouldn't be strange if he had forgotten about it. Didn't we introduce him last time? No, last time. The conference kind of just started on its own. Was that so? Answer. As individual Hanju Masayuki stated, Veldora did not introduce himself. Ah, I see. It looks like I was the one who didn't recall clearly. No wonder Masayuki was confused. Let me introduce you too. Then I shall introduce him once more. This guy is my good friend, Big Bro Veldora. I asked him to act as the guardian for the 100th floor. I am Veldora, and I recognize you. A pleasure to meet you, Masayuki. Veldora seemed to have recognized Masayuki as he greeted him with a happy smile. But as soon as he finished, Masayuki's face turned pale as snow. He then said, about that. Isn't Veldora that catastrophe rank monster that wiped out the Pharma's army? Oh yeah, we did put out rumors like that. It's fine to tell him the truth, but that would just be more trouble. It's meaningless to tell him about it, so I might as well just be vague here. Ah yes, he is very strong, so you better not piss him off. Gahahaha. My heart is as white as the sea, and I seldom become angry. By the way, if you were to offer me some desserts, I would be generous enough to grant you my divine protection. Veldora had gotten ahead of himself and said some foolish things. I rolled up my notebook at lightning speed and gave his head a whack. Punishment executed. Discipline is essential. Probably out of shock, Veldora shouted what the hell. I then ignored him completely and began to introduce Ramiris. This here is Ramiris. She's the fairy that runs the labyrinth. Masayuki mumbled. So I didn't remember it wrong. Almost speechless before being brought back by my words. He turned to Ramiris who was fluttering her wings nearby. Yes. So Ramiris-san is a fairy. By the way, you are truly strong to have created such an incredible labyrinth. He said to praise her. Hearing this, it was Ramiris' turn to get a big head. Ahoho. Aren't you the sweet talker? Why don't you become my lackey? Also, Rimuru. Did you hear that? This guy just called me strong. She bragged excitedly as she lunged at me with a flying kick. How annoying. She gets so prideful every time someone remotely praises her. I dodged her flying kick effortlessly and played dumb about it. Yeah, how strong of you indeed. That being said, if Masayuki really wants to be your lackey, I guess it would be up to you. I replied. A hero who's also the lackey of a demon lord. That's gonna be my new light novel series. However, Masayuki himself looked to be deeply conflicted. So, how's Ramiris-san as a person? Masayuki whispered next to me, and so I replied in a hushed tone. She may not look the part, but she's one of the demon lords, just like me. Ah. Masayuki froze upon hearing that. Ramiris approached the dumbfounded Masayuki with a smile. Despite keeping our conversation quiet, nothing escapes her damn big ears. Yahoo. I am Ramiris, a member of the Octagram. Masayuki-chan, nice to meet you. Ramiris-san is a demon lord. And Veldora-san is a dragon. Oh my god. There's no way. Masayuki. He had lost himself at learning that the people in contact with him this entire time were a demon lord and the storm dragon. It looked as if his soul had gone to heaven. I should have made sure to introduce them from the start. This was my miscalculation. But it was Masayuki's fault as well. During our last meeting, he was a bit too casual and relaxed. That's what led to my misunderstanding that Masayuki already knew who those two were. I thought that this guy was quite bold, but I never expected that he didn't know about those two. Even though they say that ignorance is a sin, it may sometimes be a blessing. To have gained recognition without himself even being aware of it, I once again realized that Masayuki's luck was not to be underestimated. It was Miles who extended a helping hand to Masayuki. Ramiris-sama, please don't force this upon him. It will make Masayuki-sama very troubled. It's probably because Miles was Masayuki's fan. He seemed to think that Ramiris was just joking around. To Ramiris' demand, the kind-hearted Masayuki must be very troubled, that's probably what he thought. Normally, his fantasy should have been diminished at this point. Was it because of Masayuki's skill? No, that's not the case. How should I put this? Miles really seemed to have faith in Masayuki. Miles will appear to have reached Masayuki. He gave a wry smile. This is Miles. He's a trustworthy consultant of mine. The financial department of the Tempest Federation is handled by him. In other words, he's the Minister of Finance. I am Miles, pleased to make your acquaintance. Ahaha, Miles-san is such a nice guy. You are too kind. I'm just a black market. As Miles-san has said, I can't be Ramiris-san's lackey. Because I've already promised to assist promised to assist Rimuru-san. Masayuki explained to Ramiris with an apologetic gesture. Miles followed up. That is a good point as well. After all, Rimuru really knows his way around recruiting people. His expression was like he knew me all too well. I don't get it. Ramiris decided to join in as well. Then that can't be helped. Rimuru sure is cunning. Finders, keepers, I answered rather uncaringly. For some reason, Veldora suddenly began to brag arrogantly on the side. Gahaha, there aren't many reliable men like Rimuru out there. Ramiris, I'd advise you to give up on one-upping Rimuru. Let's not mind that, introduce Masayuki now. Or else this conversation can't continue. Even though I was actually very mindful of how these people think of me, I recalled that Masayuki hadn't even finished introducing himself. Although, it seemed that everyone already knew his name, so this almost felt like an afterthought. You have a point. Then, Masayuki, please introduce yourself. As I finished, Masayuki nodded as he replied, right. Some of you probably already know me, my name is Masayuki. I came from the same world as Rimuru-san, that's why I'm helping him out. I seem to be called a hero a lot by people, please don't take it seriously. Masayuki turned to face everyone, straightened his back, and began to introduce himself in earnest. When he called himself a hero, he seemed eager to add that's a running joke. But considering Miles was present, he didn't say it out loud. Masayuki seemed to adapt well and had already calmed down. He wasn't the least bit emotionally scarred. Even though he had already met everyone here during the last conference, it was pretty impressive of him to be able to crack a smile in front of Veldora and Ramiris. He's got great potential. Perhaps the reaction the bystanders had to him wasn't entirely the doing of Chosen One. Could it be that they were simply more influenced by Masayuki's own personality? I doubt his unique skill alone would have such a great impact. But, well, that's something I'd have to examine in due course. While thinking this over, everyone had finished introducing themselves. We had all settled in our seats. Last time, we had an emergency meeting, but this time we were in no hurry. There was a casual mood in the air. Speaking of which, Masayuki-chan, you are really good. Our success was all thanks to you. Ramiris shouted excitedly as soon as she was seated. While on the topic, Miles is mighty ingenious as well. Your call to not lower the difficulty of the labyrinth was remarkably prescient. Veldora praised Miles as well. I agreed with both of their views. Indeed, we can achieve great success when we all cooperate and contribute ideas. You are too kind. I am glad to be of help for everyone. It was nothing extraordinary, it was all due to everyone's hard work. As they finished praising each other, we began to discuss the current state of the labyrinth. Our performances were looking up. During the peak sessions of the labyrinth, it was so good as to make Miles shout with joy. Moreover, the visitors to the town would all rest at the inns and use the services of the restaurants. I heard that business had been booming lately. Here are the reports, Miles said as he handed me some documents. Veldora and Ramiris were interested as well, so I gave them each a copy. I had Raphael-san run the numbers in detail. This way I would make sure that the content was in order. Let's see now. I glanced through the report. Fortunately, I could turn into my humanoid figure in times like this. Even though I could still read documents in my slime form, in terms of efficiency in tackling work-related matters, the humanoid form was definitely much more convenient. It seemed that after our renovation to the labyrinth, it had been running smoothly. It could be verified by the statistics in this report. Looks like our promotion has had a great effect. Yes, sir. Miles nodded happily. It's been bustling with work every day. I wasn't sure if Veldora and Ramiris had a clue what they had in front of them, but they were staring at the report intently. The content was mainly the recent financial details with some special matters documented as well. For instance, adventurer ID card details. Miles asked for Yuki's assistance so that we could check through adventurer ID cards to confirm permission to enter the labyrinth. It was a type of magical card that also monitors the user's health status. It was a very convenient tool that occasionally recorded their status. The way to use the card was just like the explanation I got from the association's help desk, so the adventurers were all very familiar with it. Bodyguards and mercenaries who were not part of the guild were in the minority, so it was very easy to integrate the system into our labyrinth. The fee for entering the labyrinth was 3 silver coins. The card production was handled entirely by the Freedom Association. It was meant to reduce the workload at our service window. Our nation would issue a simplified version of the card as well at a price of 10 silver coins. Most people had the card from the association, but occasionally there were people who would purchase the simplified cards. Considering the profits we reaped from that process, the entry fee for the labyrinth alone earned us a sizable income. In addition, the report also mentioned the 3 items crafted by Ramiris. The resurrection bracelet, it was only given out for free the first time. The reason for providing a free sample was to allow people to experience the convenience of the product. They would have to purchase it from the second time onward. The price was 2 silver coins, a very reasonable price. Because this resurrection bracelet would heal all the severe wounds inflicted before death, and then revive the person. After much discussion, we came to the conclusion that we might as well give them this little bonus effect. In addition, if someone were to enter the labyrinth again without wearing the resurrection bracelet, we had to send a broadcast in order to get the attention of the person in question. Although they have to bear the responsibility, we still didn't want lives to be lost out of negligence.